Do you really think true friendship exists when power is at stake? Machiavelli already answered this question coldly. No, there is. The game of power is an arena where affection is weakness, and loyalty is just another disposable piece. The myth of friendship is born out of our emotional neediness, but it dies as soon as greater interests come into play. When the game board is laid out, human ties become tools or obstacles. In Machiavelli's view, those who believe too much in the intentions of others will be the first to fall, because politics, and real life in its rawest forms, does not reward the innocent. It rewards the alert, the cynical, those who see behind the smiles. If you like this kind of content, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. The friend who supports you today may be the same one who negotiates your downfall tomorrow, not because they are cruel, but because they need to survive. Machiavelli does not hate humanity. He understands it, and that is why he gives us an uncomfortable warning. If you enter this game expecting friendship, you will leave it betrayed, confused, and with your ego in tatters. This myth of friendship within power is convenient for the naive and useful for manipulators. While you believe they are on your side, they have already calculated how and when it will be most advantageous to leave you behind. Therefore, the first step is simple but radical. Stop measuring the world with the ruler of emotion. Power does not respect affection. It respects positioning, strength, influence, and usefulness. Nothing else. Deconstructing this illusion is hard, but necessary. Only then will you stop being an emotional pawn on someone else's board. Only then will you begin to play with clarity. Now that the myth has been exposed, let's move on to the next level. Understanding what people really want from you. No one approaches you by chance. Every glance, every compliment, every friendship built has a need behind it. Recognition, access, influence, status, or protection. Machiavelli knew this, and you know it too. But maybe you don't want to admit it yet. Every social bond carries a hidden expectation. It may be subtle, it may be unconscious, but it's there. Everyone wants something. The only difference is whether that something is stated or disguised. In the game of power, this intensifies, because those who occupy a position of influence come to be seen as a resource. You become a springboard, a bridge, a chance for advancement. And the higher you are, the more interest you attract, and the fewer true relationships you find. Compliments become currency. Proximity becomes strategy. Help comes with an emotional price tag. You may even believe that someone is with you for who you are, but if what you are ceases to be useful, that presence disappears. That's how it works. People build bonds based on perceived advantages. This isn't coldness, it's survival. The question you need to ask yourself isn't, who loves me, but who finds me useful? Because usefulness in this game is more durable than affection, and more dangerous too. Machiavelli invites us to look at the world as it is, not as we would like it to be. It's not about isolating yourself, but about seeing that every relationship is a silent negotiation. Knowing this protects you. Ignoring it exposes you. The fatal mistake is to romanticize connections, to believe that liking someone is synonymous with loyalty, that constant presence is proof of friendship. None of that is true. Presence is convenience, and convenience changes with the wind. Want to know who is really with you? Be useless for a while, get out of the spotlight, reduce your offer. Those who stay, maybe, deserve credit. The rest? They were only there while they had something to gain. And now that you understand that everyone wants something from you, comes the most uncomfortable question of all. What if trusting someone is your biggest mistake? Trusting someone is handing them a weapon and hoping they never use it against you. Machiavelli understood that trust is the most valuable and most unstable resource in any power relationship. While most people dream of environments where they can trust completely, strategists ask themselves, how much does that trust cost? And how long does it last? The truth is simple. Trust is a risk. And risks in the game of power need to be calculated, not romanticized. Complete trust is a costly naivety, because it is based on the premise that the other person shares your values, your ethics, your worldview. But in the realm of interests, values are adaptable, ethics are flexible, and views change with the winds of opportunity. That is why Machiavelli did not advise trusting. He advised appearing trustworthy. Subtle advice but explosive. He knew that inspiring trust is a strategic power, but granting it indiscriminately is opening the doors to your fortress. How many times have you trusted someone and then felt betrayed? Perhaps the mistake was not the betrayal. The mistake was the judgment. You wanted to believe. You wanted to ignore the signs. You wanted to cling to the exception. And the price came. In the chess game of power, trust is not granted, it is negotiated. It is a guarded exchange, never a blind gift. You test little by little, observe reactions, measure consistency, analyze behaviors in silence. Those who trust too quickly are not being generous, they are being reckless. And here comes the key point. Blind trust is a form of emotional laziness. It is easier to believe than to analyze. It is more comfortable to trust than to distrust. But comfort and power rarely go hand in hand. Machiavelli would say, if you need to trust, let it be for strategic reasons, not out of need. Use trust as a tool, not as a shield. And if you understand that, you're ready to take the next step, dismantling the idea that alliances are solid, because what they call an alliance is often just a temporary convenience with an invisible expiration date. Every alliance seems solid until it ceases to be useful. Machiavelli knew that alliances are, at their core, pacts of convenience, and convenience changes. What is a strategic union today may be an obstacle tomorrow. Those who call you a partner today may see you as dead weight tomorrow, or as a direct threat. The common mistake is to think that an alliance is immune to conflicting interests, as if affinity were stronger than ambition. It is not. History is full of alliances that were broken when one of the parties saw more advantage in breaking them than in maintaining them. And this is true for kingdoms as well as for modern friendships. What sustains an alliance is not affection, it is mutual interest. If interests align, the alliance lasts. If they diverge, it breaks. Sometimes silently, sometimes with a bang. And those who refuse to see this become the ideal victims. Machiavelli taught that the prince must always be attentive to the movements of his allies, because the real danger rarely comes from the declared enemy. It comes from the ally who switches sides when the winds change. The problem is that alliances give a false sense of security. You relax. You let your guard down. You share plans, expose weaknesses, and share strategies. And when you realize it, you've set up your own ambush. That's why strategists never give themselves completely to an alliance. They observe, they reevaluate, they keep cards up their sleeves. They know that an alliance is not a shelter. It's a gamble. And like any gamble, there is risk. You can gain strength from it, but you can also be swallowed up, manipulated, or discarded the moment you are no longer needed. Want a practical test? Ask yourself, if this alliance stopped benefiting me, would I keep it? And the other side, would they keep it too? If the answer is no, you don't have an alliance. You have a disguised agreement, hanging by a thin thread called utility. And when the game changes, that thread snaps. Now that the illusion of the alliance has been dispelled, it's time to go deeper. Let's explore how pretending to be friends can be a powerful and dangerous tactic. Pretending to be friends is one of the most effective weapons of power, and one of the quietest. Machiavelli made it clear, appearing virtuous matters more than being virtuous. Appearing loyal matters more than being loyal. Because in the real game, appearances are a strong currency, and knowing how to manipulate them is a skill of those who want to win. The ideal prince, according to Machiavelli, did not need to be good. He needed to appear good. He did not need to love his allies. He just needed to convince them of that. Because perception is what shapes reactions, and whoever dominates perception dominates the game. Here comes the most uncomfortable point. Pretending to be friends is not falsehood. It is strategy. The Machiavellian manipulator does not lie for pleasure. He lies by calculation. He approaches, listens, supports, all in a rehearsed manner. He studies the other as a hunter studies his prey, not with hatred but with focus. And that's why manipulators are rarely identified in time. They seem like everything you want to see: understanding, trustworthy, present. Meanwhile, they gather information, measure your value, and wait for the right moment to act. A predator in a suit. You've met someone like this. That person who was always by your side, until one day, unexpectedly, they pulled the rug out from under you. The surprise wasn't the betrayal, it was the performance that came before. Machiavelli didn't romanticize relationships. He understood that, in order to survive, sometimes you have to wear masks, and that if you don't master this game, you'll just be another pawn. But be careful. Manipulation requires coldness, but also intelligence. The false friend who exaggerates becomes a villain too quickly. The subtle manipulator, on the other hand, builds trust with patience and destroys it with precision. They are invisible until the final blow. The lesson here is not to become a false friend. It is to know that they exist, and that they are closer than you think. If you don't learn to identify veiled manipulation, you will fall for it with disconcerting ease. And once you're in the trap, the damage is not only external, it's internal. Because the next step is even more brutal. When affection becomes weakness, feeling is human. Showing too much is exposure. In everyday relationships, affection is a bond. But in the realm of power, it can be a visible weakness. And Machiavelli knew it. He saw emotional attachment as a strategic loophole, something that, when misused, becomes ammunition in the hands of the enemy. Those who feel too much give themselves away, and those who give themselves away lose control. Because affection, when it goes too far, becomes dependence. And dependence in the game of power is a sentence of submission. You start off well, trusting, getting closer, believing in reciprocity. But when you get too involved, your vision becomes clouded. You ignore signs, you justify mistakes, you gloss over questionable behavior. All in the name of the bond you've built, even if that bond has already turned into a chain. That's how affection becomes weakness. It makes you hesitate when you should act. It makes you forgive what should not be forgotten. It ties you to what should have already been discarded. And worst of all, it makes you predictable. In the game of power, being predictable is a deadly risk, because your feelings become targets. Those who know where to hit you know how to control you, and nothing is more valuable to a manipulator than an emotionally exposed opponent. Machiavelli warns us, those who govern must learn not to be governed by their emotions. It's not about becoming cold, it's about becoming lucid. Because true power is not the absence of feelings, it is mastery over them. Excessive attachment is the art of digging your own trap with a smile on your face. It is trusting that your loyalty will be recognized. It is expecting a return from a world that rewards utility, not commitment. So here's the warning. If your affection is preventing you from acting with clarity, you are no longer in control. You are being driven by forces you don't even realize exist. And the game has already turned. Only you haven't noticed yet. And it is precisely at this point that we enter the coldest territory of strategy, knowing how to use and discard with the precision of a surgeon. Cruel, yes, but functional. On the chessboard of power, no one is irreplaceable. This is one of the most uncomfortable truths, and most practiced, by those who truly understand the game. Machiavelli did not advocate blind kindness. He advocated efficiency. And in the name of efficiency, alliances must be formed and broken without drama. Using people does not mean exploiting them in the vulgar sense. It means identifying what they can offer at a given moment and acting on that basis. It is an exchange, even when it does not seem like one. When that exchange is exhausted, discarding follows. Quick, dry, strategic. This scares the sensitive, but it's what makes the world go round. Great leaders, executives, politicians, even close friends, they all use this logic, albeit silently. And the most curious thing? You do it too without even realizing it. Have you ever distanced yourself from someone when they cease to be interesting? Have you ever prioritized those who could help you? Be honest. The difference is that some do it consciously, and others do it guiltily. The former win. The latter sabotage themselves. Machiavelli taught that political virtue lies in knowing how to act according to circumstances. If keeping someone by your side no longer brings you any advantage, why insist? Clinging to outdated ties is like carrying dead weight. It slows you down, weakens you, exposes you. Using and discarding, within this logic, means keeping your focus on the goal, not on emotions. And that requires coldness. It requires knowing that not every thank you needs to turn into eternal loyalty. And that gratitude in power is a rare flower, that wilts quickly. The mistake is to confuse usefulness with attachment. People who are useful today may be obstacles tomorrow. And when that moment comes, hesitation can be your downfall. Of course, this does not mean betraying or deceiving for sport. It means recognizing when an alliance has served its purpose and acting without guilt. The general does not mourn every soldier lost. He mourns losing the war. Now comes the most uncomfortable part, realizing that you are also on the menu. Because in this game, no one is untouchable, not even you. The rule is simple. If you can use it, you can also be used. If you can discard it, you can also be discarded. Many people understand the power game to a certain extent, until they realize that it also applies to themselves. It's easy to point out the coldness of others. It's hard to face the fact that, in someone else's eyes, you are just another playable piece. And removable. Machiavelli never promised immunity. What he offered was clarity. No one is above the logic of the game. Not even the most cunning. Not even the most loyal. Not even the most useful. Because usefulness is volatile. What is essential today may be superfluous tomorrow. And when that happens, the cuts come. Cold, fast, necessary. You can be the most faithful advisor, the most present friend, the most loyal ally, and still be cut if it is convenient. This is how kings lose thrones, generals lose wars, executives lose jobs, and people lose connections. The feeling of being discarded is devastating only to those who thought they were indispensable. And here's the point. You never are. No one is. This awareness should not embitter you. It should prepare you. Because the game requires constant movement. You need to always be in a state of strategic alertness, updating your value, repositioning your role, renewing your relevance. Those who stand still are replaced by those who are sharper. Machiavelli would say, if you want to stay, learn to reinvent yourself. Power does not welcome the static. It selects those who are useful now, not the legends of the past. And if you think that because you have helped a lot, built bridges, made history, you are invincible, bad news. The game has no memory. It has convenience. This is the shock that many refuse to accept. You don't fall because you made a mistake. You fall because you are no longer needed. And at that moment, those who seemed like allies become strangers. Those who flattered you disappear, and the world treats you like a piece off the board. The way out? Play with the awareness that your position is never guaranteed. This does not weaken you. It makes you smarter. And now comes the harshest part of all. Understanding that surviving in this game is not about being good. It's about knowing how to play dirty when you have to. If you still think that winning is a matter of pure merit, you're watching the game from the stands. Machiavelli already said, it is necessary to learn not to be good and to use this as necessary. Cruel? No. Real. The game of power is dirty, not because everyone is bad, but because the innocent don't last long. Those who survive are those who understand that sometimes you can't follow all the rules. That in certain situations, being too moral makes you too disposable. Playing dirty doesn't mean being vile. It means not being naive. It means understanding that there will be times when deception is more strategic than telling the truth, when retreating is smarter than confronting, when silently destroying is more effective than publicly confronting. Machiavelli knew that survival requires moral flexibility, not ethical rigidity. Those who play fair all the time become predictable. Those who refuse to use hidden tactics lose to those who use them without guilt. The real world is not a school of virtues. It is a battlefield between narratives, interests, and strategies disguised as cordiality. True players know how to hide their intentions. They know when to feign weakness. They know when to praise their enemy just to confuse them. They know that the biggest mistake is to play with your heart on your sleeve, as if everyone around you is rooting for your success. They are not. Machiavelli did not teach how to be evil. He taught how to survive. And sometimes survival requires maneuvers that hurt values, but save positions. Maneuvers that will not be applauded, but will be necessary. The question is not whether you will need to play dirty. The question is, are you prepared for it when the time comes? Because when that time comes, there will be no warning. It will be you or someone else. It will be your permanence or your naivety. And those who hesitate bleed. And now, at the end of this tense and lucid journey, it is time to face the hardest truth of all. Power recognizes no friends, only players. If you've come this far expecting redemption, forget it. Machiavelli did not write fairy tales. He wrote manuals for social warfare, and the final lesson is as clear as it is brutal. Power recognizes no friends. It only recognizes those who know how to play the game. In this game, emotional ties are props. Loyalty is a replaceable piece. Kindness is tolerated to the extent that it does not threaten strategy. When the game gets tough, all feelings melt away under the heat of self-interest. And only those who truly understand this stop suffering from surprises. The truth is that none of this is a surprise. It is calculation. It is historical repetition. It is human nature in its raw state. Those who survive and thrive are those who accept this reality without romanticism. They are the ones who play coldly but with awareness. Those who know how to adapt, move, close themselves off, and attack when necessary. Machiavelli does not invite us to be evil. He invites us to be lucid. He shows us that expecting purity in a contaminated environment is to be willingly blind. That blind trust is asking to be used. That clinging to eternal allies is ignoring the relentless cycle of the game. You can try to be the exception, but the game will see you as just another piece, because power does not see feelings. It sees usefulness, influence, movement, and it respects only those who know how to play with these three forces. From now on, the question is not, who is with me? It is, what role does this person play in my game? And most importantly, what role do I play in the game of others? If you understand all this, congratulations, you are no longer a spectator. You are a player. And here's the final provocation. If no one is your friend, who exactly are you protecting? If this content made sense to you, like the video. See you in the next video.